In 4 days, the Aztecs cut out 84,000 human hearts. The bodies rolled down the steps of one pyramid in such numbers that the chroniclers ran out of ways to describe the smell. This was not a war. This was a dedication ceremony. In 1487, the 8th Aztec ruler, Ahuitzotl, uncle of the man who would later face Cortés, finished rebuilding the Templo Mayor at the heart of Tenochtitlan, the floating capital of the Mexica Empire. The new pyramid was the size of a city block and as tall as a 15-story building. To consecrate it to Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun, Ahuitzotl ordered the largest single act of human sacrifice ever recorded. The chronicles, mostly the codices of Friar Diego Durán and the testimony of Mexican nobles after the conquest, placed the figure between 20,000 and 84,000 over 4 days. Modern historians argue over the higher number. The lower estimate is 20,000. Either way, it was industrial. The victims were prisoners of war. The Mexica Empire had fought for decades against the Tarascans, the Mixtec, the Huastec, the Otomi, specifically to capture men alive. Aztec battle was not designed to kill. It was designed to capture. A warrior who killed an enemy on the field instead of dragging him home for sacrifice was demoted. To rise in rank, you had to bring back a living body. 1 captive for the rank of youth, 2 to 4 for leading youth, 5 for grade captain. Captives belonged to whoever caught them, but the most precious, the elites, the unbroken, were saved for the temple. For the 1487 dedication, the supply had been gathered for years. Captives were marched to the capital from every corner of the empire, fattened in cages, dressed in the colors of Huitzilopochtli, and made to dance. On the morning of the ceremony, 4 lines of prisoners were arranged stretching out from the 4 corners of the main pyramid. The lines stretched 2 miles into the city. They moved 1 step at a time. Ahuitzotl himself, plus 3 priest-kings of allied states, took the first stations on top of the pyramid. Each stood behind a curved stone block called a teccatl. Below them, attendants seized each prisoner. 1 held the head, 1 each held an arm, 1 each held a leg. The body was bent backward over the stone, chest pushed up like a drawn bow. The priest used a blade of black obsidian, sharper than any modern surgical steel. He cut horizontally below the ribcage in a single arc, drove his hand up under the breastbone, and tore out the still beating heart. He raised it to the sun, then placed it in a stone bowl shaped like an eagle holding the human heart. The body was kicked down the steps. At the bottom, lower priests dismembered it. The arms and legs were given to the warrior who had captured him, a ritual meal. The torso and head went into a cooking pit at the base of the temple. The skull was added to the tzompantli, the rack that displayed tens of thousands of skulls in neat rows along the plaza. Spanish witnesses 50 years later counted 136,000 skulls on the racks of central Tenochtitlan alone. Modern archaeology has confirmed at least one of those racks, found in 2017, a tower of 650 skulls, mostly young adult men, dating to the late 15th century, exactly Ahuitzotl's reign. The 4 days of dedication did not stop. 24-hour shifts. Priests collapsed. The blood pooled at the base of the pyramid in a shallow lake. The Mexica believed that without these hearts, the sun would not rise. Huitzilopochtli, born every dawn, fought the moon and the stars in the underworld. He needed human blood, chalchihuatl, the precious water, to win. If the sun ever stopped rising, the world ended. Sacrifice was not cruelty. It was infrastructure. 32 years after Ahuitzotl's dedication, in 1519, Hernán Cortés walked into Tenochtitlan. The Mexica Empire that had fed the sun for almost 2 centuries was destroyed in 26 months. Within a generation, the practice was extinct. The pyramid was buried under a Catholic cathedral. The skull rack was buried under a parking garage until archaeologists started digging in 2015. Ahuitzotl then, the same logic, that some lives must be spent in industrial quantity to keep the system running, never disappears. It just changes what it calls the heart and what it calls the sum.